Welcome back to the Product-Led Festival. Before we get going with the next helping of inspiring content, we'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors for helping us bring this event to your screens. And don't forget you can access even more content from exclusive articles and interviews to all past and future events on demand, as well as templates and frameworks by becoming a PLA member. Head over to productledalliance.com for more info. Enjoy the next session.
All right, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for our Mastering Product-Led Growth workshop. My name is Miki Alon. I'm the founder of Gainsight PX, a product experience platform, the only platform that empowers product teams to deliver a complete product-led growth strategy, combining deep analytics and in-product guides. So in today's webinar, we're going to cover what is product-led growth and why it works, how this disruptive go-to-market strategy is impacting the industry. We're going to learn about product-led growth flywheel and how can you drive customer acquisition, adoption, retention, and growth. We're going to talk about key product-led growth tactics and which KPIs you can apply. And we're going to also share an ebook called Mastering Product-Led Growth, available for free download. So let's start by the basic definition of product-led growth. So looking at the basic definition, it's about using your product as a primary vehicle to drive customer acquisition, retention, and expansion. And as you can see, product-led growth is rapidly being adopted by SaaS companies. Gartner predicts that 80% of IT companies will shift their company structure to fit product-centered operating models by 2023. Let's understand why this is happening and why these companies actually adopted this strategy. So looking at the market data, product-led growth companies are able to drive much higher valuation due to stronger unit of economics. Let's look at the SaaS market. The SaaS landscape is ultra competitive, if you think about that, which constantly drives higher customer acquisition costs as more and more companies are entering this market. So historically, product-led growth was born to optimize customer acquisition costs, though in the subscription business, you have to retain customer in order to thrive. So let's understand how product-led growth is helping us with this. Ultimately, product-led growth strategy is being adopted as it leads to sustainable and durable growth. Companies that transition to product-led growth benefits from better unit of economics, such as customer acquisition cost, net revenue retention, and better customer lifetime value. So how exactly the product becomes the powerful growth engine? Looking at customer acquisition costs, using free trials allows you to lower customer acquisition by allowing users to experience product without being bounded to high-touch sales resources. By leading with your product, you're also accelerating time to value for your customers, which also means shorter sales cycle. Another aspect, which is the net revenue retention. So product growth is not just about free trial or freemium. Unlocking organic expansion through self-service provisioning and consumption-based pricing allows you to optimize retention. It's about building a data-driven product adoption strategy that drives value realization for your customers, which ultimately leads to stronger net revenue retention. And we're going to talk about the tactics, how can you do it, and how can you apply that strategy in your company. Looking at the journey to product-led growth, some of the companies were born into that, but for others, it's just a journey. And it goes through different stages of maturity. If you look at the companies that are moving from sales-led structure, where the product is still focusing on agility and data-driven or maybe experience-driven, to more the right side, which is product-led, where product teams are aligning behind revenue-driven and product-led strategy, where the strategy of the product is closer to revenue. So let's talk about the shift in the customer journey and introduce the product-led growth flywheel and few tactics you can use to optimize your customer journey and drive growth. Looking at the traditional SaaS in the customer acquisition funnel, you can see that it's a siloed experience which creates higher friction and longer sales cycles. As you can see, most of the energy is spent on trying to qualify prospect and move the pipeline forward with high-touch sales resources where only top qualified customers get to experience the actual product. However, in the product-led growth flywheel, the funnel is turned in upside down, having the customer as an input, not just as output. So focusing on the end user experience and driving growth by putting metrics, product engagement, and feedback into the customer lifecycle in order to deliver the optimal product experience at every stage of the customer journey. So let's see how. Step number one is acquisition. And what we teach you here is how to master the first mile of product. As you're launching your free trial, it's key to remove barriers to user signups. You can use those social login and have a clear pricing and packaging so your customers, as soon as they sign up, understand exactly what is the functionality you're offering. And you should avoid sign up lead forms. You need to just use minimal fields as possible. And if you can postpone the email activation step to a later stage, allowing you to start delivering value and capture that user as they sign up for your product. Next, in case you're serving multiple personas and objectives, it's recommended to collect these data points during the sign up and then orient your trial experience based on this different user cohort. As you can see here, even with Gainsight PX, as soon as you sign up, we're capturing your role and your objective as part of the sign up experience, so we can actually serve up the right onboarding experience. And we use tactics like the user onboarding checklist that helps user understand which features they need to experience in order to realize the initial value of the product. So we are trying to just help customers help themselves with the self-provisioning motion. Measuring those different KPIs during a trials, you want to make sure that you're also measuring the organic and inorganic campaigns to drive and optimize sign up. You also want to track the aha moments that you want customers to experience through the trial and see how quickly they get there. You also want to measure user retention and clearly also measure the trial conversion as well. So understanding what drives customers in and the key value moments they experience is key, as well as trying to figure out and optimize your SEO, what drives them to your product. So we have an interactive worksheet content here, and we're going to help you during this session to just capture and codify in each stage what type of actions you want to have. So please use your content or just any doc of your own to write down your persona, which ideal customer profile your product serves. Also, what type of objectives your product is delivering. And in addition to these objectives, you want to have and to just codify the moment of values during the initial interaction with your product. So if I log into Gainsight PX, I might be a product manager, and the key moment of values in my perspective is to understand how we deliver dashboards and have customers, for example, understand how building guides. So do the same with your product. Just write down those key personas, what type of objectives, and how can they get there? What are the core value moments and aha moments in the product that help your customer realize the initial value of your product? Let's move to step number 2, adoption, driving core value. We move from initial value in acquisition to core value of your product. So let's do how you can do it. Measuring adoption is tracking week-over-week user retention, for example. It's a great way to, and a leading indicator to measure stickiness. It's important that users are coming back and looking at the retention graph. You want to see that at least more than 30% return week over week to your product. So the graph starts with the cohort of the weekly sign-up users and how many of them came back week over week. So the line flattened over time, and you want to see it, for example, just above 30% and potentially going up over time, meaning your product is able to retain customers. So measuring user retention is key, and also important to learn which features drive the strongest retention. And you can change by the cohort from sign up week over week to the first time they actually use one of your core sticky features to validate your hypothesis. Once they use this feature, do they come back more often, or more of them are coming back? So this is a very basic way to measure the stickiness of your product and basically measure your core features and which one of them is driving the best retention for your users. So going beyond frequency and recency of usage, it's recommended to track your core features and to understand the breadth and depth of adoption. And to do so, you want to choose those golden features and simply picking those 5 to 10 features that drive actual outcome to your users. So in the below chart those are the key features or value drivers of your product, the value actions they perform in your product, and you want to track them as part of the health of your product adoption. Another tactic is using contextual messaging as a nurturing strategy and just driving adoption in a scalable and data-driven way. So you can use in-app guides to increase awareness of advanced features for the right user core at the right time. And then if you look at the customer journey, for example, if it's acquisition, I might trigger those first-time users, but if it's in adoption stage, I want to trigger that based on the right set of personas and the right set of adoption that they've used. So I'm going to use behavioral data for triggering those in-app experiences. And I want to make sure that I increase feature discoverability and nurturing those users to those advanced features over time. So eventually it's helping your customers to reach mastery level with your product, which requires you to think about that journey and just message and show them at the right moment, what should they learn next? What is the next best action they should learn in order to optimize and maximize the value of your product? Next is about orchestrating the optimal outcomes. A good outcome-driven roadmap contains a set of features that are designed to accelerate time to value. By productizing those templates or workflows, you can help customers be more successful. And the goal is to help them with the setup. If you think about that, if they have an objective and you have different use cases you're serving, you can actually build those templates and specific workflows to set your customers on a success path by automatically configuring the system for their use case. So what we can see here, how Software AG, for example, are building those different templates into their product. So it's just easier for customers based on the right use case, see what can they do and automatically configure their instance. You can also use funnels to measure time to value and completion of these workflows with a defined time frame. So a funnel is a classic way to measure how many customers and how much time does it take them to reach from point A to point Z in that journey towards outcome. Next is scaling support and education. You want to promote educational videos and one-to-many office hours session, for example, allowing your customers to interact with your support and customer success teams and help your customers help themselves. So in this example, you can see like those banners, which are less intrusive, but helping customers sign up for those weekly office hours and just learn and be able to ask specific questions and learn about those best practices, as well as building articles and videos showing customers at scale and at the right moment, what should they learn and how is the best way to optimize their setup. So these are a couple of tactics helping you scale your customer adoption. So in this step, what we ask you to do is when you create adoption strategy, you want to map the more advanced features you'd like to measure and drive adoption towards. So write these down as well as core roadmap items for a set of templates or workflows you should consider building in your product roadmap. So in this exercise, please capture these down, and as part of your adoption strategy, these will help you get there by just mapping those elements. Moving to step number 3 is retention. We want to drive end-to-end value realization. So let's talk about that and how, with few tactics you can use to get there. If you think about product prioritization, for example, creating an iterative process is a great way. You want to create that process to build, measure, and prioritize feature enhancement, and decide which features require increase of awareness and which features needs usability improvement. So mapping those features and prioritizing the ones that just need your attention. Sometimes it's just awareness and discoverability of that feature. Once they use it, it's great, leads to stickiness, but just many customers are not aware, as opposed to features that they are aware of, but they struggle to use, or it lacks functionality. So you want to prioritize some improvements and improve cycles to that feature. So always monitor and learning about that data points and see where customers struggle and optimize that feature into your next release, and actually having a dedicated bucket in your roadmap for those learnings. You can actually optimize existing features and drive customer delight based on that. If you think about one of the tactics is the feature activation. So what we are trying to do that is, as you can see in the graph, for customers to actually realize true value of your product and renew, and therefore drive the growth, revenue, and retention, the GRR, they need to use those high value features. So the feature activation tactic is just allowing them to learn about these new advanced features that drive these outcomes, and moving them from basic users to highly adopting users with more sophisticated capabilities to optimize and maximize the value of your product. So mapping that gap between basic use case and usage of your product to more advanced, what customers need to know, learn, and use to get there. And this is the triangle that you want to map those features and just promote those features with in-app walkthroughs, with videos, with articles to drive customers there. Another element that helps improve retention is tapping into the user feedback. And as you're driving your product adoption, it's key to measure how users feel about specific features as soon as they use them. It's just going beyond NPS to something more actionable and very, very specific. So one way to do it is with customer effort score. As you can see here, it's actually asking customers as soon as they use a feature to rate how easy it was them for using this feature. And you can also end with open text questions or multi-choice to better understand what drives their satisfaction and how can you improve that experience with very high response rate when you leverage this contextual survey. When you capture this sentiment, what you want to do is make sure is you incorporate that to your roadmap. So a great way to show customers that you're closing the loop based on their feedback is to message at release and making sure that you have that bucket of resources allocated to address that set of feature requirement or feature improvement that actually your customer suggested, and that will close the loop with them and just message them what's coming and what was the feedback, and making sure that once you release, you score again and measure the trend of that specific set of CES surveys correlated with these core functionality and features. Another aspect is operationalizing the subscription retention, which requires your success team to gain visibility to breadth and depth of the product adoption. And they need to identify customers at risk and therefore building a score based on who the customer is, what's the stage of the journey they are at, and how are they doing from adoption perspective. These actionable insights should drive your success program as well as surface common areas of complexity to the product team. So not just like triggering the right calls to action and what type of success plays your customer should experience, you should also surface an aggregated view for your product leadership saying, hey, we're seeing there's a lot of smoke in this area, and this area actually drives advocacy. So let's make sure that the roadmap has that feedback incorporated as we are releasing the new functionality or our strategy down the road. Another tactic is continuously surfacing outcome to users. We tend to try to summarize everything before the customer renews, or maybe once a quarter in an EBR. But one great and scalable way to do it is to continuously surface outcome and opportunities for your customers to improve using personalized outreach outside the product. So based on where they are, what they've done, you can message them continuously so they build up that value realization of your product, as opposed to trying to squeeze everything in those quarterly discussions or just before the renewal. So in this section, please take a moment to map and write down the key areas you'd like to collect user feedback from, and a list of experiments you'd like to run in order to validate your hypothesis you might have with regards to retention. So in this section, please just take a moment to do that. And that list should feed into your retention strategy as you're building that stage and optimizing that stage in your customer journey. Moving to step number 4, expansion. Now that you mastered the customer acquisition through trial experience and first mile of product, moving to adoption and retention, expansion is the stage you should focus on. And in that, we can learn how can you increase the number of seats or premium features or consumption, which drives your NRR. These are kind of usually the levers in each product. So first, you want to make sure that you're optimizing your pricing and packaging to align with increasing value and usage, which is foundational to driving successful growth. As you can see, for example, social solutions map those product packages and functionality to make sure that they can build the right experience and the right set of features to the right stage of the customer journey. And as you mature, you're exposed to more functionality, and obviously your license goes up. And so it's a combination of premium features, usage, and seat-based that drive that growth. So as you're acquiring more customers, one of the key growth levers is selling more product to your install base in order to drive that expansion. So designing data-driven cross-sell and upsell motion, targeting your install base is the most effective way to create durable growth, and offering the next package should be natural. So when you think about product roadmap strategy and pricing and packaging, you should see the alignment, because eventually the best and optimal way is to sell the right set of package to the right person or at the right time, and making sure that that alignment exists, because it's pretty much foundational. Without that, optimizing your expansion is going to be more difficult. Another tactic is in most SaaS product, investing in native integration is helping you drive growth. One of the things with native integrations is you can increase the ROI by just making that your product seamlessly integrate with customer internal systems. You want to be able to ingest relevant data and enrich your data and potentially open your product to orchestrating goals within a company. So once you introduce your solution into a company, you obviously want to make sure that your solution is seamlessly integrated to their CRM, to their messaging system, to their orchestration engine. So your product is playing a key role in in delivering the value for that company. You also want to make sure that the vice versa works as well. You want to make sure that your product exposes and export data to the ecosystem, so you can become the system of record to the problem that your solution is solving. So it's a bi-directional thing. First, you want to ingest data to make sure that you can surface the data that's relevant to your solution to drive value, but also exporting data back to the system. So the enriched data that your product is basically creating is going back to the system of this corporate, allowing them to increase the value and making sure they have consistent data sets across their system and make your product much more stickier. So moving on to the last tactic is facilitating organic expansion. Organic expansion is a powerful tool to drive expansion to other teams in the business unit with the organization. So you want to reduce friction in provisioning and allowing your customers to sign up is a great product-led tactic in order to facilitate that organic expansion. So how easy it is to invite other users or provision a new instance of your product, or maybe a workspace or a project you can share with other business units. So you want to be able to trigger notification to, for example, or create collaboration around features, but empowering and facilitating organic expansion through features is one tactic. And you can see how Monday.com, for example, always nurture customers to collaborate and invite other users in order to drive that expansion. So in this section, as last step of this workshop, please map the value drivers you should optimize towards increasing revenue. And you want to make sure that first your pricing and packaging is aligned, but make sure that you have those lined up, designed experiences for cross-sell and upsell motion, and see that you have that alignment between pricing and packaging and potentially what's missing in your product to get there. And just designing the upgrades opportunities based on that consumption. So for example, if your pricing is based on monthly active users or number of projects or number of campaigns, make sure that you design this around functionality you can deliver to drive the usage of this feature, because this potentially is your North Star metric. That set of features are delivering the most outcome for your customers. So what you want to make sure is you design those upgrade motion or driving adoption of these features, because that's exactly what drives the growth of your product. So with that, we're going to finish this workshop and with the key takeaways. So first, product-led growth will continue to disrupt this market as it comes with superior unit of economics from customer acquisition cost, net revenue retention. It does not eliminate the need for marketing, sales, success, and support. You just orchestrate these teams across the customer journey and introduce them at the right moment in a scalable way. And you make sure that they have enough data or the right data set to drive their action. It also requires deep visibility to product usage data and user feedback, so you can optimize these experiences and continuously learn and optimize your product experience towards adoption. And then the best way to start is actually with retention. Even before acquisition, it's easier to maximize revenue impact by focusing on retention and seeing and mapping those core features, making sure that you're driving that adoption before you move towards trial experience, freemium, or any change in your pricing and packaging. And last thing is aligning the roadmap strategy with that go-to-market strategy and making sure that you're avoiding a Swiss Army knife scenario. So as you see now, Social Solutions is doing that, building those right packages to the right type of customers and stage, and unlocking features as customers require more advanced features that drives to more consumptions and more value to your customer. So in a nutshell, that's how you can leverage product-led growth into your strategy as your product strategy, and taking care and addressing those each stage of the customer life cycle. What do they need to be successful? Identify, using data, identify what are the friction points, how can you optimize that, always applying closed loop feedback and processes to make sure that all those insights and data-driven decisions are being applied, and you're closing the loop with your customers towards a successful growth. So with that, we're going to finish, and please feel free to go to Gainsight.com and download your free copy of Mastering Product-Led Growth ebook.